Last week on Legally Kidnapped.
Good evening. Our top story this week: a mom from Florida fights back against DCF caseworker who was trying to snatch her kids by punching her in the face, stomping on her glasses, and hightailing it with the kids. The police put out an APB on her. She later gets caught and the kids are snatched, but she's released from court on Friday afternoon. And a mom from Michigan who shot at police a couple weeks back because they were helping CPS snatch her kid because of her refusal to feed her daughter dangerous psychotropic drugs, which doctors say she doesn't need anyway. And now she's being forced to fight to get her kid back from a psychiatric facility where she doesn't need to be. In Colorado this week, children are disappearing from foster care left and right, and a bill designed to increase protections for kids in foster care is signed into law. Florida's new DCF chief calls the state's child protective industry a total systematic failure. And a Florida DCF caseworker doesn't want to be held responsible for her failures regarding the death of a 10-year-old twin who was killed by her adopted father. A school in Chicago bans homemade lunches in order to protect kids from unhealthy choices, and an anti-gay adoption bill fails in the Illinois Senate, sparking a threat from Catholic charities to stop providing foster care services if they are forced to place children with same-sex couples. Connecticut's DCF head wants to expand psychiatric facility options for kids in the system. The country's first juvenile justice and child welfare research institute launched at the Indiana University this week, and Pennsylvania is giving away free condoms to kids as young as 11. The state of Kentucky reveals a new specialty license plate to raise funds to prevent child abuse. The state of New Mexico launches a new child abuse hotline which is being swamped with false accusations. And Tennessee plans an increase in child snatchings by implementing their own child abuse hotline in Memphis so that it will be easy for you to rat out your friends, family, and neighbors, even though they can't take care of the kids they already have. And the number of aged-out foster kids in the state is growing, increasing the homeless problem. In Nevada this week, spending cuts to child welfare could cause children to linger in foster care for much longer periods of time than they already do. And in New Orleans, a worker for the National Transportation Security Agency pats down a 6-year-old girl. New York CPS workers are protesting against the indictment of two of their own because they don't like being held accountable. Oklahoma officials are calling Oklahoma City the crossroads of human trafficking. A Nebraska foster care agency is being sued over non-payment to foster parents. U.S. military children are facing increasing difficulties in school as the kids are being forced to grow up without their fathers who are off on multiple deployments for long periods of time. Many adoptive parents are heartbroken over the U.S. Internal Revenue Service's failure to pay huge adoption credits on their tax returns. And parents are increasingly becoming afraid of the boogeyman these days, as more and more kids stop playing outside. In New Zealand this week, the child protective industry wants to make it a legal offense to not report child abuse. In Ireland, grandparents have no legal rights. Things are heating up in India this week as 37 groups get together to protest the child protective industry's raids on orphanages. A kid goes missing from foster care. The government in Bali is accused of ignoring a rise in child abuse, and an adoptive couple hightails it with their stolen kids after the High Court orders them to return the 6-year-old kid to their biological parents who had lost her by deceit. In Australia, they're blaming an outdated computer system for their child welfare failures, and a family court judge allows a 10-year-old boy to undergo a sex change. The Victorian Premier admits to failures within their child welfare system after a 13-year-old girl became pregnant while in state care. In Canada this week, the British Columbian Children's Advocate may launch an investigation into the tasering of an 11-year-old kid by police. A nanny from Alberta admits to ignoring red flags at the murder trial of a foster mother. In Ontario, a new law makes it easier to adopt your children out, which makes the Children's Aid Society happy. And even though Ontario is in the process of looking for better options for foster kids, a woman from Windsor has to organize a rally in support of grandparents' rights. In England this week, a social worker who accessed porn while at work is allowed to continue practicing. The Kent County Council puts 30 new social workers to work investigating a backlog of 1,000 cases of possible child abuse that they haven't gotten around to. And documents reveal concerns over Birmingham's child welfare system. A couple is forced to pay child support after a surrogate mother who agreed to carry a child for them changes her mind, backs out, and decides to keep the kid for herself. A British mother is threatened with jail time for for talking to her lawyer. And according to an animal rights group, feeding kids meat is child abuse. Amber Porwood needs the judge's permission to attend the MTV reunion show. Naomi Judd admits that she was a horrible mother to Ashley and that she was abused when she was 3. Oprah Winbeg's executive producer jumps on the anti-child abuse bandwagon. And Brooke Mueller refuses her drug test, which she agreed to in a custody arrangement with Charlie Sheen, the Oklahoma cop who claims he was falsely accused of sexual abuse against one of his male foster kids, has been rearrested for sexual abuse and kidnapping after one of the kids was found being held against his will in Utah. A California doctor who sometimes testified in court as an expert witness on child abuse gets busted for sexually abusing foster children in his care, sparking questions about his credibility as a witness. A Monterey County social worker gets busted with over 500 pornographic images of children on his computer. And a foster parent from North Dakota gets 45 days in jail for molesting a 5-year-old girl in his care. In Missouri, a woman is busted for posing as a pregnant woman to con desperate to adopt couples into an adoption scam. And in Virginia, a Bedford County Child Protective Services employee is charged with DUI. A teacher from Tennessee is charged with child abuse after denying a second grader a bathroom break, causing him to soil his pants. A cute but crazy Florida woman attempts to use the system to her advantage and is now charged with making 5 false reports of child abuse against the father of her kids. A New Yorker is charged with perjury after being paid $10,000 to lie in court about a rabbi who was accused of sexual abuse. And finally, tonight, an Ohio bomb squad is called in to defuse a kid's science project which consisted of an egg inside a bottle. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.